Good morning. My name's Roy Burley. This is testimony number 6. Today we're talking about overcoming emotional pain. And I'm really grateful for the response of these testimonies that have gone out and the questions that are coming back in. And I'll try and answer some of those questions. But I was asked a very good question, and that was, should we allow ourselves to feel the pain or should we block the pain? And I think any psychotherapist will tell you, if you block pain, it will make you sick. I realize, even working in the prisons, my understanding of anger suppressed creates depression. And there's a whole lot of that in the prisons because there's a lot of injustice in the prison system. And I notice the guys, they can't lash out because the consequences are massive, even though they do, but they tend to suppress their feelings. And as a result of it, there's a lot of depression. And I think in the medical field, they would say that suppressing emotion can manifest in sickness in your body. So in my case, I felt a tremendous amount of physical pain in my loss of my 3 siblings. And that the last time I felt such physical pain of grief inside me was when my sister, who was 13, committed suicide. I was 15. And I began to feel that again in this grief. And everyone who experiences grief knows that grief is complex. So, and I was, in a way, I was also creating that pain, because I was thinking about all of the stuff that I wish I'd done, that I hadn't done, that I should have done, and which is very normal in grief. And so I was kind of making myself worse without fully realizing it. You know, the Apostle Paul in Romans 7, towards the end, he says, "Who shall deliver us from this body of sin?" I thank the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, you see, to me, the body of sin is related to our identity in the flesh. And what happens is we become our thoughts, we become our pain, and this is the picture of the body of sin. People that have wrote about what Paul said that he was describing something that the Romans did, where they would tie a dead body to a murderer. So the person they killed, they would tie the body to that person, and the rot and the death from that body would kill the person. And the body of sin, this self-life that we need to die to, is created in the thought realm. And as we're thinking toxic thoughts, we're feeling toxic feelings, and that body of sin kills the life in us, or prevents the life of Christ flowing out of us. So I was in a tremendous amount of pain, but I'd learned some years ago, and I started to develop watching and praying, watching my thoughts, but also watching my emotions, watching what was happening in my body. So as I began to feel this tremendous amount of pain in my body, I began to wake up. See, there's a lot of scriptures that talk about alertness, awake, watch, see what's going on, because as soon as you begin to see that you're not your pain, you're not your emotions, you're not your anger, you're not your thoughts, you're not this shame, you're not this blame, you are moving into your spirit, because only your spirit can see that. Only your true self. That's why Paul says, I thank the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the Christ essence. That's the DNA of Jesus Christ, you being born of God, is seeing that. So as soon as you see it and you begin to watch it, you enter into your spirit. Now the spirit is so powerful that nothing evil and nothing from the flesh can penetrate it. So over a period of time, as you're watching the pain in your body, you'll see, you can't make this happen, but it will happen. And even if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. But in my experience, what happens is the body of sin dissolves, the pain begins to dissolve. And I first started doing this probably about 8 years ago. Just where I'd been through so much childhood trauma, had so much pain, I had so much anger inside me. And when you have this level of pain, you tend to snap at the people you love, and usually your kids or your wife or so on. And that was very much how I was. And I began to just watch, and I was living in a countryside at that time, and I'd go for long walks, and I'd ask myself the question, what am I feeling in my body? I'd always ask two questions. What am I thinking? Or I wonder what my next thought's going to be, and I'd watch my thoughts. Or what am I feeling? And I could always feel a tremendous amount of pain around this area to different levels of different degrees, and I would allow it to be there, and I would just watch. And I noticed over a period of weeks, without trying but just watching, my spirit man dissolved in. And it wasn't until my son said to me one day, he said, "Dad, you're not as angry as you used to be." And I thought that was a great testimony. And so even through this great time that I'd been in, I still was, even though I was identifying with the pain, and the pain was taking me over, and I was becoming my thoughts and becoming my pain and falling into sin, because that's a pattern. Other times I was getting above the pain by watching. I was getting back into my spirit. So the initial words that I said to you, if whatever you're feeling or thinking, if it doesn't feel good, let it go. And so that's what I began to do. I began to let go of all of that pain, allow it to be there, and allow the body to process it and allow it to flow out of the body. The body will get rid of all those emotions, all that toxic stuff. And it's the spirit that, in my opinion, dissolves it. So God bless you.